there's some really interesting tech innovations that could honestly change the way we live as human beings. Some of my favorite ones are gene editing. So CRISPR, you may have heard of it. CRISPR is this technology that was created actually to help get rid of diseases in people's genes. So if you are, let's say you're going to have a baby, you have an embryo, and you want to prevent a particular disease from manifesting or from showing up in your child, you can actually edit it out. But if you take that to an extreme, you now can actually say, well, I want to change baby's eye color or hair color or skin tone. And the list goes on and on. So there's a bit of concern about gene editing, but the premise is really around how can we make it so that people don't have to live with chronic diseases, they don't have to live with challenges or issues in their genetic makeup. The next one is around longevity and aging. I remember I was sitting in my New York City apartment 10 years ago now at this point, reading an article, and it was about this company called Calico that Google was funding very quietly. And the idea behind this company was the article was titled "The Company Solving Death." Can you imagine the company solving death? The whole premise behind the company was that they wanted to understand why we die. I find this fascinating. In my mind, it was somewhat simple, right? You live with our biomarkers, your vitamin Ds, Es, your hormones, all of these things. You are trying to keep your body stable state, trying to make sure you get enough nutrients to make sure that everything is good. The longer you live with those things at a deficit, the harder your body has to work to keep things up, right? So you take vitamin D as an example. If you have chronic vitamin D low, you're going to have a lot of issues with your bones. You're going to have a lot of issues with your eyesight, all of these different components. And if that compounds over time, that's not how you get chronic diseases and cancers. Your body's struggling to keep up. But imagine longevity and aging is trying to figure out ways they can solve this, and Calico is a great example. Then there's a company called Neuralink by Elon Musk. And this is now connectivity through our world with sensors. And imagine this is really, again, meant for people who started out with people who have certain disabilities. Maybe you can't use your hands, you can't use your legs, and you want to be able to have a connection with the real world. The idea was that a piece could be added to you, a device could be added to your brain. And essentially, if you were able to think, I want to touch the table, the connectivity between your neurological system and the real world is then made. But imagine extrapolating that out further. If you have sensors in your kitchen, you might be able to think, I want a meal, eba and egusi soup. And if there's enough sensor connectivity to your kitchen, and your kitchen is actually built off of sensors and robots, you could actually have a meal made for you through this technology too. So that's pretty cool. Then there's mixed reality. I remember being a consultant. So most of my career, I've been a technology consultant in different spaces between Blue Wolf that got bought by IBM, and then also Ernst & Young. And I remember, you'd be sitting at a client site every day, and I always wanted, and I always thought about this, how amazing it would be to have a visual screen so that I could see, you'd have process flows and you'd have documents and all of these things that you needed to read, but on these very little screens in these windowless rooms, and you're just trying to get things done. And I always was thinking, how cool would it be to have this visual screen that sort of came up and you could see and type and do things and it would come up on screen. Anyways, that's mixed reality. Being able to have both physical and digital reality combined through a pair of glasses that you've seen some of these companies like Google and Facebook and others creating. One really weird one is external embryos. Shout out to the surrogacy camp, if it's by choice or by necessity, but soon you'll be able to do this, have a baby without a human womb. External wombs are actually a thing. And the idea, again, is for people who would like to have a child, but they can't for one reason or another, or choose not to, being able to actually do this without necessarily having another human being have to also go through that. So I'm sure there are tons of pros and cons and tons of controversy, but that's one. And then lastly, humanoid robots. How beneficial could this be in a world where so many of us, myself included, have an aging parent, or you've got children, or you even have both, right? At home, and you need all the extra help you could possibly get. You know, my dad, who has health challenges, my mom and I help to care for him. There are so many issues we've dealt with, just dealing with caretakers. People get sick, they get hungry, they have to take breaks. But imagine having humanoids. And some might argue, but where's the human experience and all of that? Honey, if it were me, I would prioritize and prefer somebody, a bot that's got precision. You know, if somebody's got to brush your teeth or they've got to wash your bum, I want it being done with precision. So humanoid robots are something that I am extremely excited about. And there's been a lot of advancements here. Okay, so now on to point 3. Join me in the next episode where we're going to talk about this and more. Thanks.